français. La présentation sera en anglais ou en français? En anglais. Donc je vais faire une autre chose en anglais. D'accord. Dear professors, dear ladies and gentlemen, as president of the jury, I hereby open the PhD defenses of Miss بوساحة أمينة, enrolled in agroecology at Kلية University. Her thesis is titled Wetland Ecology of Anatidae in the wetlands of Algerian Numidia, Phenology, Diurnal Behavior, and Abiotic Environmental Descriptors. Miss Bousaha, you have 30 minutes to present your work. You will feel great. Good luck. Thank you.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين. Dear committee members, respected supervisors, and all attendees, good afternoon. First and foremost, I would like to thank all committee members for taking the time to evaluate my work and for their insightful feedback. Secondly, I would like to express my sincere gratitude to my supervisor, Dr. Ali, for his continuous guidance and support throughout my research journey. Also, special thanks to my co-supervisor, Professor Hamdi, for his valuable help and encouragement. And finally, I would like to thank all my colleagues, friends, and family for attending this thesis defense. Today, I will be presenting my PhD dissertation entitled Wetland Ecology of Anatidae in the Wetlands of Algerian Numidia, Phenology, Diurnal Behavior, and Biotic Environmental Descriptors. The outline of my presentation is as follows: introduction, description of the study sites, materials and methods, results and discussion, and we finish with conclusion. Let's take a moment to imagine a bird crossing continents, flying thousands of kilometers, guided only by instinct, weather, and ancient routes. These are migratory birds, vital to ecosystems across the globe, dispersing seeds, regulating insect populations, cycling nutrients, and serving as sensitive indicators of environmental health. Every year, over 4,000 species migrate, linking continents and ecosystems. The Arctic tern, for example, undergoes the longest migration of any animal species on Earth, from pole to pole with 90,000 kilometers in a single year. Their journeys aren't random. They follow established paths known as global flyways. Vast aerial highways, like the major East Atlantic Flyway and Black Sea Mediterranean Flyway. These routes are lifelines for millions of birds, linking breeding and wintering sites across continents. Within this global network, Algeria occupies a position of exceptional strategic importance. It serves as stopover and wintering site for numerous water birds, especially Anatidae. Among Algeria's most precious ecosystems are the wetlands of the northeast. These ecoregions are home to species that are listed in the IUCN Red List of threatened species as being especially vulnerable and endangered, including Althea nairoca, Oxyora leucocephala, Althea ferina, and Marmarometa angostirostris. However, despite this crucial role, these regions continue to suffer an alarming decline due to several risks. For example, drying out, water abstraction, generally for agriculture, pollution, mainly by wastewater discharges, and overhunting. The objectives of my thesis is as follows. The study of the ecology of Anatidi through an analysis of population structure. Second, to study the phenology and spatio-temporal distribution. Study the diurnal activity patterns of all Anatidi species, and to study the physical, chemical, and bacteriological quality of the water in the study sites. For our research, we have chosen to study areas in Algerian Numidia. The first area is located in the western Numidia, belongs to the Ben Azouz in the wilaya of Skikda, and represented by the floodplain Gerbes Senhaja, which is Garad Hashtar. It is a freshwater pond, covers an area of 112 hectares. It has a very elongated oval shape, and it was listed as a Ramsar site since February 2001. The second area is located in the eastern Numidia, belongs to the wilaya of Taraf, which is Lac des Oiseaux or Garad Toyor. It owes its name to the ridges of its avifauna, especially in nature. It is a permanent oval-shaped freshwater lake, covers an area of 70 hectares, and it was listed as a Ramsar site since in 1999. Both sites is located in the northeast Algeria. That is the same geographical location, also in the same bioclimatic stage. The only difference is that Garad Hashtar is located far from urbanization in an agricultural area, whereas Lac des Oiseaux is located close to urbanization. The area has become a landfill site, endangering the quality of the lake's water with wastewater discharges. Following the description of the study area, climatic synthesis must be conducted using androthermic diagram. In this study, given that Skikda is very close to Taraf, which has the same annual precipitation and temperature, so Garad Hashtar and Lac des Oiseaux climates are somewhat convergent. Over a 30-year period, androthermic diagrams have enabled us to separate the year into 6 dry months and 6 rainy months. According to Imberger's climagram of Mediterranean climates, both sites belong to the bioclimatic stage of subhumid vegetation with warm winters. Our study was divided into 2 parts: the ecology of Anatidi and water quality. In general, for our fieldwork, we carried out 2 counts per month, thus covering almost the entire wintering period from October to April during 2 wintering season 2021 to 2023. We used 2 methods, absolute and relative, and our observation made using a conus bird spotting scope. The 2 physico-chemical parameters, electrical conductivity and dissolved oxygen, was measured in situ using multi-parameter analyzer. To study the spatio-temporal evolution of the water, 3 sampling stations were selected for each study site, based on vegetation gradient in Garad Hashtar and urbanization gradient in the Lac des Oiseaux. Sampling was conducted once a month over a 12-month period from November 2021 to October 2022. For our lab work, the biological oxygen demand was measured using a respirometry method. Phosphate was assessed using a colorimetric method. Ammonium ions were determined by Neisser reagent method, and for nitrate and nitrite was measured using a spectrophotometric technique recommended by Rodriguez. The enumeration of the total heterotrophic bacteria was done by the colony counting method after incorporation. For the total coliforms, a presumptive test using BCPL broth was conducted. For the fecal coliforms, a confirmatory test using sugar medium was performed, and the fecal streptococci are first tested on rat medium, then confirmed by subculturing positive tubes on Ivalitsky medium. Statistical analyses were conducted on 64 water samples using multivariate test ANOVA, cluster analysis, principal component analysis, and Spearman's correlation. Now I will present the main findings of my research. Let's begin with wildrophenology. In Garrett Hashtar and Lac des Oiseaux, 14 species were systematically listed during the study period, where Anas acuta and Tadorna were only observed in Lac des Oiseaux. Althea firmidula and Spatula crocodula were only seen in Garrett Hashtar. The last column shows the maximum abundance recorded for each species. Anas penila is the most represented species on Lac des Oiseaux, whereas Anas clypeata is the most dominant species in Garrett Hashtar. Overall, a high abundance of Dublin ducks is observed in the Lac des Oiseaux, whereas diving ducks are more numerous in Garrett Hashtar. A study of spatial distribution revealed that the diving ducks occupied the central part of the Garrett Hashtar. These species prefer deep and unvegetated sectors. Dublin ducks located in the northwestern part of the Garrett Hashtar. This part is characterized by surface water covered with clumps of vegetation. It provides both shelter for daytime resting activities and sufficient food for these individuals. In the Lac des Oiseaux, most species occupy the central part of the lake. This part is characterized by its truncated due to its distance from the national road. Throughout the study period, the maximum abundance of Anatidae was recorded during the second wintering season, with 311 individuals in Garrett Hashtar and 4,200 individuals in the Lac des Oiseaux. Although the abundance is higher during the second wintering season, the regions is higher during the first wintering season. I think that is due to the weather conditions in the Aegean media region that attributed to the significant drying up of the wetlands in 2022. This explains the lack of Anatidae species in Garrett Hashtar during the second wintering season. Concerning Shannon's and Piolo's indices, Lac des Oiseaux recorded low values of these two diversity index, reflecting an imbalance in the abundance of species within the community. This situation can be explained by the dominance of the two main species, Anas pennilot and Anas crica, which made a significant contribution to the total abundance. During the study period, most species were winter migrants. Only 3 species were occasional visitors, and 3 species were winter migrants with sedentary populations. According to International Union for Conservation of Nature release, most species are classified as species of least concern. Only 2 species, Marmaronita angostirostris and Alcanairoca, were classified as near threatened. Aithia ferina was classified as vulnerable, and Oxyora leucocephala was classified as endangered. Regarding the diurnal behavior of all Anatid species, sleeping is the main activity observed in the 2 study sites, which reached 71% for Stationa clavita in Garat Hashtaher and 79% for Anas crica in the Lac des Oiseaux. The assessment of water quality was studied in relation to 2 factors: month factor represented by the months and space factor represented by the 2 study sites. Both study sites shows low oxygen levels, high electrical conductivity, and biological oxygen demand values exceeding the World Health Organization limit. Nutrient levels show wide spatiotemporal fluctuation with high values in the Lac des Oiseaux compared with Garat Hashtaher. This increase might be attributed to the intensified degradation of organic matter resulting from human activities. The trend in the number of fecal bacteria shows a gradual increase from the first month of sampling, November 2021, to the last October 2022. It's important to note that the level of fecal pollution at the Lac des Oiseaux site is higher mainly due to discharges of urban wastewater. ANOVA revealed that recorded a highly significant difference between the 2 sites and months, but not between the sampling stations. The correlation matrix shows several association between water parameters. For example, in Garat Hashtaher, the dissolved oxygen, there is a very strong correlation between dissolved oxygen, ammonium phosphate, and the biological oxygen demand. Also, in the Lac des Oiseaux, dissolved oxygen shows a very significant correlation with nitrite and ammonium. These strong correlations can be explained by the degradation of organic matter into nutrient salts by raising temperature. This phenomenon contributes significantly to the water pollution having the most risks for in the oxygen concentration and eutrophication. Regarding the association of water parameters according to the months, it emerges that the period from June to October is characterized by climatic conditions that have a strong influence on water quality and bacterial concentration. For each study site, cluster d'Androgen was divided into 3 main groups. The dissolved oxygen also is associated with several parameters at both sites, as it plays a central role in biological and chemical processes in aquatic environments. In the last statistical analysis, Spearman's correlation used to test the influence of water parameters in the abundance of anatomy. The presence of highly significant correlations confirms that these parameters determine the availability of trophic resources for these species. In the first section, the findings indicate that both study sites are crucial to wintering. More than 300 individuals in the Garat Hashbahar and 4,000 individuals in the Lac d'Oiseaux were recorded, representing 14 anatid species. These wetlands constitute an ideal refuge for anatid, as shown by the diurnal balances dominated by sleeping activity. And water quality analysis revealed contamination levels exceeding both World Health Organization and aging standards, which affect the availability of trophic resources for anatid species. We had the opportunity to publish my first scientific article in an international journal, and thank you for your attention.